observes the depth of Tennessee. This is 3rd and 17. Mahomes is chased. Looking for somebody deep downfield. He's got to take off himself. Can he get there? Oh, he did! Mahomes to midfield for the first down. Nothing was open, and he made it happen for 20.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? This is KCSN Update, and as per what's become usual, start all these episodes off with a little nugget. The Chiefs offense ran 91 offensive plays in last night's 20-17 win over the Tennessee Titans, and that tied them for the 3rd most offensive plays in a game in franchise history. And the only time that it happened more was actually twice against the New Orleans Saints back in 2012 and in 2020. The Chiefs ran 92 plays in both of those games against the Saints. And last night, the Chiefs seemingly need all of those plays to get it done. Great to see Patrick Mahomes and the offense get it done when they were given enough opportunities. But again, this is KCSN Update, your daily Chiefs podcast and video from us here at KC Sports Network. I'm BJ Kissel, founder of KCSN and former Chiefs insider and sideline reporter. And it's Monday. That means we're going to be joined by ESPN's Matt Miller for our stock up, stock down report. But before we bring on Matt to get his thoughts on last night's big victory for the Chiefs, a quick word from our friends at DraftKings. NFL Sundays are only getting better, and so are the incredible offers at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. And check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. And for me, I like the anytime scores. Those are a lot of fun. You can go across the NFL, pick different guys, different teams to score. They got different odds based on the likelihood of that happening. It's always fun. And you get some really good payouts. And with payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is my go-to in betting on the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code KCSN and place a $5 pregame moneyline bet to get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, now let's welcome on Matt Miller to talk a little bit about that game last night. Matt, I said this earlier on the 10 Things episodes I've recorded, that's one of those games as a Chiefs fan that you want to go back and watch again now that you know the results, because it was not a whole lot of fun to watch in the moment. That was a very frustrating game.
It was a fun football game for those of us that aren't a fan of either team and just like good football. I think, honestly, Mike Vrabel's one of the best coaches in the NFL, and I don't think he gets that credit. I was really happy to see Patrick and Andy and other people talk about the challenge that comes with playing him. And I was having this conversation during the game with some people, is that Tennessee's just so physical, and they're a great barometer for where you are as a football team, because you know that you're going to get – it's such a cliche, but you know you're going to get punched in the mouth for 60 minutes. It might not always be pretty, with a rookie quarterback in there and guys at wide receiver that I don't even remember scouting coming out of college, right? I mean, they don't have A.J. Brown out there anymore. Treylon Burks is not out there right now. So it's an offense that is simple but was still effective, and it's a defense that is great with a pass rush that has depth in the secondary. And I think that is a game that you can look and say, okay, that's almost a playoff type football game where you're not going to score 45, you're not going to score 50. You have to find creative ways to win, and they did it. And it's Mahomes tucking and running for 20 plus yards. I don't know how many more accolades we can give that guy, but that's a gamer to just have someone be like, my son and I were talking about it this morning, and it was like, no one was open, and Pat's just like, I'm going to win this game for us. And it's awesome to know for you guys that 15's the best doing it right now. And he's every week, it feels like we get closer to saying he's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah. You bring up that point about, and I just got done recording the 10 Things episode where I spent like 18 minutes just listing off all of the things that Patrick Mahomes is doing, the pacing, the superlatives, the records, the first 75 career. I mean, within the next 4 games. So right now he's at 71 career starts. When he gets to 75, he's going to have the most wins, the most touchdowns, and the most yards in the first 75 starts of a player's career. And we're not talking about some random, on Sunday night game, like all those, like those baseball type stats where you add all those qualifiers in there. Like you're moving those endpoints.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about, Big 12 quarter, whatever it is. Talk about the most wins, yards, and touchdowns. Like wins, fine. Quarterback wins it triggers some people. Yards and touchdowns, like any way that you look at the most 300-yard passing games, 400-yard passing, it doesn't matter. He's going to be up there with all of them. But I really like the point that you made about Mike Vrabel, because I agree with you. I think that he's one of the most underrated coaches, and it always goes back to the point that I made when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, is that you really have to be a complete team on both sides of the ball, because you are going to face teams that give you different things. For the Chiefs to go and win a Super Bowl this year, they're going to have to beat a team like Tennessee in the playoffs, which gives you a completely different kind of challenge than the Buffalo Bills, or you go face the Cincinnati Bengals and the high flying, like all the different things. You have to be able to prepare and perform at the highest level against these teams that have these specialized things that they do, and they're so good at it.
And I know you and I don't think we plan to talk about this today, but this is what's going to happen. This is where I think the rest of the AFC West messed up. And I think you can look at how they're playing right now is they tried to build teams to beat Kansas City, and they're not even like, but you can't beat Jacksonville, because Jacksonville is going to give you different problems than Kansas City does. And the beauty of Brett Veach and Andy Reid and that entire staff is that they've reinvented this team. So if you say, okay, well, we're going to be able to beat Kansas City, we're going to take away the deep ball, we're going to play 3 safeties. Hey, okay, well, now we have guys like Juju who are just, 9-yard specialists. And it's not as much as the over-the-top stuff. It's more of a consistent, long drives to keep the defense off the field, which is great because they play with a lead so much that other teams are going to be throwing the ball. So there's a lot of football psychology that goes into this team building that we could probably spend the offseason talking about and giving this team its due. But I think last night that to me, that is, other than maybe the San Francisco game, it's the biggest win of the season for Kansas City, because you showed against both those teams with great pass rushes, great defenses, strong run games, that you can line up and really play a physical brand of football instead of, hey, let's go outscore the Cincinnati Bengals, or let's try to outscore the Los Angeles Chargers. You're showing that there's a toughness to this team that has kind of maybe been missing a little since the Super Bowl.
It's interesting because as a Chiefs fan watching that, we did a second screen watch party, so we were live the whole time. I had to, when Butker missed the field goal, I got up and just walked off. Like I was so
the field goal or the extra point.
Yeah, the extra point. I wasn't paying attention, and it was just like, seriously. And after the field goal, I was like, I can't do this. I'm more confident in him kicking a 60-yard field goal on a bum ankle than I am. Obviously, he hit the 28-yarder to win it, which was still a little worrisome, which is not what you want to see from the kicker. Yeah, it's not what you want. The wind, whatever, wasn't there, so I don't know what those conditions were. But we're talking about a kicker that was considered the second best kicker in the NFL behind Justin Tucker. I think Justin Tucker's in a tier of his own. But now, like, we're worried on extra points. Like, we're worried on like having to pay attention to these things. And it was just something that we'd kind of taken for granted of him being one of the better kickers, and he's struggling. But it's interesting in that game, before we'll get to your stock up, stock down here in a sec. But that game's interesting because no matter where you want to talk about that game, you could talk about the Chiefs offense, and you could talk about all the crazy things that Mahomes did and the plays that, Kadarius Toney got a little bit involved. Saw McCall Hardman make some plays. Travis Kelce just continuing to show that he's kind of unbeatable. Big throws made to Juju Smith-Schuster, to Noah Gray.
Great catch.
It's stupid good. I thought it was Kelce. Like, I was on the live stream, like, that's why Kelce's one of the best. And they're like, that was Noah Gray. I was like, oh my God. Good for you, buddy. But then offensively, you could talk about the offensive line and where they struggle. There's so many different things you can talk about. Same on the defense. A lot of positives, a lot of things that you could be worried about, particularly early. They seem to make the adjustments and fix it. I don't want to take some of the points that you're going to make as we get into stock up, stock down, but it's such an interesting game to discuss. And that's why I always enjoy talking with you, Matt, because this is going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a game that I think a lot of people – like, I don't know that you guys are going to queue up the DVD of, week 9 against the Titans and be like, this was the moment. But you might be, you might be when it's all said and done.
This 3rd and 17 scramble, Mahomes, like that was the play of the game. I looked at Kent. I was like, they come back and win this game. That's the play that I'm going to say, like, that's where everything changed because not a lot was going right. They were against the sticks. Tennessee does everything right. And they show Vrabel on the sideline. It was just one of those like, oh crap. Like he did it again. And Mahomes scrambling against the Titans has been a thing. You do everything right. He still makes a play.
Sometimes you can't stop it, right? You have the perfect play called. You have the perfect package of personnel out there. And Vrabel, again, I want to give him his credit. He's one of the best doing it right now. And you got everything going right. And then he just does that, and I don't know what you do. I don't know. So let's start there with stock up, BJ.
Let's do
it. Was the offense. I know you kind of made the joke about like, QB wins. People hate those. People do hate those. And I'm usually one of those people that's like, hey, it's 53 guys on the roster. Not last night.
I think Chiefs fans hate it because it was used with Alex Smith so much that they didn't want to talk about it when it was with Alex Smith. They want to talk about it when it was with Patrick Mahomes. It's a different story. But anyway, I think that's why it triggers a lot of Chiefs fans.
I get that. Yeah, but it is demeaning almost at sometimes, as well. So, But I think with Patrick, you look at that. I mean, you go watch the game, look at the box score, whatever you need to do. He was the team last night. I mean, throwing for Texas Tech numbers, how many times they threw the ball, but also leading the team in rushing. I mean, it was like 9 rushes for 63 yards, which, speaks to the struggles they were having up front last night. But I think for a player to just take over a game, I use this analogy a lot. I'm sure people outside of Kansas City get tired of it, but it's like watching Michael Jordan when Scotty's not hitting and Jordan would just be like, all right, I'm not passing you the ball anymore. I'm just going to do this myself. And Mahomes last night, there was a lot of that to his play of we're not getting open. We're not protecting. More importantly, not protecting very well. I'm just going to have to do something to will a victory almost. And it's one of the better games I've seen him play without, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, not the gaudiest stat line, but one of the best games that he's played. So I think stock up he's the MVP favorite. I think the Chiefs are back to being, talked about as the Super Bowl favorite after Buffalo has not looked good the last couple of weeks. Not taking away from the New York Jets, who played a really good game, but the Bills have struggled offensively. I think you have to put Kansas City back in the driver's seat, and Mahomes is that reason.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he had 11. I mean, obviously he threw 68 passes, so there's a lot of targets to share around in that game last night, but 11 different guys caught a pass for the Chiefs offense. And we saw with Kadarius Toney getting involved super early in this game. But yeah, Juju again, 10 receptions, 88 yards. You talk about Patrick Mahomes, and not that he had a perfect game, and it'll be interesting for him to go back and watch. And I'd be really curious their analysis of that game, especially felt like when he left the pocket is the time that he should have stayed. And it's easy for us to say, just kind of analyzing it.
We've also been saying that about him for 6 years, like,
but the time that he hung in the pocket, that's when I was like, get out of there. Like the whole thing is imploding, get out. Right. And it's like, he'd scramble when he didn't, and then vice versa. But the guy makes enough plays, but yeah, you could also tell they were exhausted. The Titans defense was exhausted at the end of that game. So
Jeffrey Simmons, I thought they were going to have to bring the card out for the guy at the end of the game, which, oh my God, what a player he is. Like, I know we come on here and we want to talk the Chiefs up, but Jeffrey Simmons, Derrick Henry, Mike Vrabel, if you could have respect for a competitor, start there, because those guys are phenomenal.
Yeah, give them credit. I don't know about David Long. I don't really know how I feel about that guy getting in Travis Kelce's face as much as he does. Like, you're talking to the greatest to ever do it, buddy. Like, you really don't want to piss that guy off. But they
used for a guy with the same name who played at Michigan. So it's like, wait, which David? Is this West Virginia David Long or is this Michigan David Long? Which guy are we talking about?
Yeah, I think we could probably start every video every Monday with stock up being Patrick Mahomes. Interesting you say that, front runner for the MVP. Obviously, that would help my DraftKings bet that I put on for Patrick Mahomes to win MVP at the beginning of the year. And I thought I was going to hit on my 500 yards passing in a game for Patrick Mahomes this season. I was like, that would have been the best opportunity.
Yeah.
Still didn't quite get there, but hey, there'll be more opportunities. Yeah. All right. What else you got for stock up following that game?
Yeah. I have a look at my notes this week. Stock up Khalen Saunders, career game for Khalen. And I was happy that Chris Collinsworth was shouting him out last night. Makes you think the coaches probably knew this would be a big game for Khalen because of what he's able to do with his quickness in the interior. A guy who had such a bright flash early in his career and then just kind of settled into being a role player. Last night was a hallmark game for him, and it's super important, not just the pass rush, but stopping Derrick Henry, who really was ineffective in the fourth quarter when the Tennessee offense couldn't get anything going. And I think Saunders, Chris Jones is Chris Jones. He's amazing. I actually think Chris is having the best year of his career. But, with Frank Clark out, someone else on the D-line needed to step up. I thought Carlos Dunlap had a really good game as well. But Sanders is the guy that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I'll always shout out Khalen Saunders. We did our post-game show last night, and we did our toast game, kind of like our MVPs. And I knew somebody else was going to bring up Mahomes, and I went first. And I brought up Khalen Saunders. I'm biased because I love that dude. I'm going to support that dude. He works his tail off. He's a genuinely good dude. He's got a young family. He's in like a contract type year. So like, I want to see him. I think he's going to break the bank, nothing like that. But those are the guys that you give him 3 or 4 year deal. It's life-changing money for him, for everything that he's put into this. And so for him to make plays in a really crucial time, not just for the Chiefs team. And I know that's how he thinks and all of that, but me selfishly rooting for a guy that I know personally, wanting him to step up and make those plays and make a case to keep him around, give him a couple years, some guaranteed money to put in the pocket and, take care of his family. Like, love to see it with Khalen. But yeah, his combination of size and quickness is so rare that even going back to training camp, there were a lot of people that didn't think Khalen Saunders was going to make the Chiefs team. And my whole point from the beginning was, I think he's going to make it anyway, because I'm rooting for the guy to make it. But also, you can't find guys with that size and that kind of quickness on like a practice squad. You can't hide that like you can hide like a middle linebacker and a special team, 4-core special teams guy. You can't find guys like Khalen Saunders just anywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, guys step up when you need them to. He absolutely did last night. I mean, Nick Bolton had a couple great stops. Joshua Williams is the best tackling cornerback in football, apparently. So it was an all-around impressive performance by the defense. I know a lot of people are going to say, like, well, they only threw the ball like 9 times or, didn't have a completion to a receiver. All those things can be true, and we could talk about the struggles of Malik Willis or, having to simplify the game plan for him. But it goes back to that saying, they get paid too. When you can shut an offense down like that, especially in the second half, the defense deserves credit. It's the NFL. This isn't, an SEC team against a directional school. This is all professionals.
All right. Do we have any more for stock up before we move on to stock down?
Unfortunately, that's all the good news. But I feel like we highlighted a lot of players there. So there's a lot to walk away from.
Before we move on, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Steve Spagnuolo as well. I thought they did a great job adjusting. We make a lot about halftime adjustments. I'm sure you've gotten the looks before. It's like they don't have time to sit in. They don't have these big team meetings during halftime. People run around going to the bathroom. They may meet as like, their position groups, but whatever adjustments they did make on the sideline in between, snaps. I don't, whether it was that they weren't necessarily prepared for Malik Willis and some of the run, the RPO option stuff that they were doing. They, not a lot of what Tannehill does, whatever they did in the second half really shut that down. Safeties looking more towards the quarterback, keeping the ball in those situations where they got burned early in the game. So I thought it was a great job by Steve Spagnuolo to make those adjustments and get it going for the Chiefs defense and really shutting it down. We talked about it earlier. 10 yards the Chiefs defense gave up in the second half and overtime combined.
Crazy. That's that's not modern football to do that, So yeah, you're right. Spagnuolo deserves a cold beer today.
All right, there you go. All right, let's move on to stock down. Matt, what do you got for us?
I only have one this week, and it hurts my heart to do this to my guy, but Andrew Wiley, oof, that was not great. And, really the whole offensive line struggle, BJ. I thought Trey Smith, I think that's the worst game I've ever seen Trey play. I think it was late fourth quarter, maybe early overtime. Orlando Brown Jr. got rocked at left tackle, and Mahomes got flushed because of it. So let's, again, give credit to the Tennessee defense. It's a very good defensive line. It's built with big, powerful players. This is not, a team that's going to have a NASCAR package with 240-pound defensive ends out there. These are grown men, 275 at defensive end. And the Chiefs offensive line struggled. And I think it's why we saw Mahomes have to lead the team in rushing. It's why there were so many throws outside the pocket. I think some of his mistakes came from not having time. There was a play where Mecole was wide open. Pat can't get the ball there because he's so pressured and rushed. So it's something they're going to have to clean up, because I guarantee you everybody's watching it and saying, all right, if we run power over the right tackle, we can affect this team. Especially Mahomes loves going right. He drifting, creating, trying to give his guys more time to get open. it's all to the right, and so I think that's the key. They got it, whether it's now that Noah Gray's back, God bless you, keeping somebody in there to chip, to help out. But as much as I give Wiley a lot of credit for being that fifth guy that no one talks about a whole lot, the other side of that is when you have a game like last night, it's going to show up. It's going to stand out, I should say. So
yeah, we talked about Trey Smith.
Yeah.
We talked about Trey Smith on the post game last night, and for a player that still great draft pick, just not the game that he's going to want to go back and put on his highlight reel. Not a great game.
Jeffrey Simmons gives a lot of people a bad day, so it's not that Trey's not good. He's great. Jeffrey Simmons is just fantastic.
And that was one of the things I asked Craig on our post game show last night, is how much of what we saw is something that other people could repeatedly do, or they just can't be like, well, we don't have the dudes up front. We don't have the scheme that Mike Vrabel does. That's not something that other teams can go copy and necessarily use against the Chiefs. But overall, we're having a lot more conversations about the offensive line struggling than a lot of people expected going into the season.
Yeah, well, we talked about it with Buffalo. We even talked about it against the Colts, which, God, how weird does that loss look right now? So I think that is one of the things. And it's really been the tackles. I think the interior has been very, very good, very solid. But it's that tackle play. And unfortunately, like we talked about to start this interview, BJ, a lot of teams, they built to beat the Chiefs, and they went pass rusher heavy on the outside. The Raiders did it. The Chargers did it. The Broncos tried to do it before they traded Bradley Chubb. The Bills did it with Von Miller. The Dolphins are a contender, and they've really built on the edges. So the Chiefs are going to see a lot of teams that have those dudes on the edge. So it's a problem that has to get fixed.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. What else do you got for stock down?
That's the only one. Honestly,
okay.
That's it. I really thought it was a good game. I know it was like low scoring, and a lot of people would think like you would have more bones to pick. I guess Harrison Butker, we could say.
I was going to bring up Butker just because
I don't understand it. I'm with the dude is good for like a missed extra point every couple weeks. He's better from 50 yards out than he is from 48 yards in. I don't completely understand it. And it's not just the ankle. Like, this was a problem last year. So
and you're not cutting him. It's not like he's not going to be the kicker. Right. He's the guy. So you're just going to have to deal with the fact that you're going to be holding your breath on every extra point and every field goal. And I hate it because it got to the point with him where it was just like, oh, he's going to drill this one. Like, he is going to like when he gets in the zone, he is on fire. Like going back to the Vikings game, like when they won the Super Bowl, like he had hit so many big kicks for there to be so much history with him that should give us confidence. And all of that is gone, at least for me. If you're watching this, let me know in the comment section. Let me know if I am out to lunch here. He's going to be the guy. And now I'm going to be sweating every kick going into the playoffs and late in the season. It's just not an area of the game that I wanted to have stress. And maybe it's, it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? A luxury that other teams don't necessarily, unless you're Baltimore, everybody feels this way. It's just, we didn't feel like we had to. Kicking, quarterback play, solid. Don't have to worry about it. I gotta worry about the kicker.
My guy, Dicker, the kicker, was out there on the street just waiting to be picked up. And look, he's hitting game winners for 2 different teams this year. So I'm just saying, anytime you need a kicker, go to Austin, Texas. That's the spot.
Yeah. And I appreciate you not bringing up the game.
I had a Texas hat I was going to wear, but the Colts fired their head coach this morning, so I was busy, forgot to put it on.
I guess I shouldn't laugh.
Great game.
That. Not great.
It was a great game.
Yeah. Luckily for me, and I know you texted me, I did not watch the K-State Texas game. For anyone who's listening, I know he's a big Texas fan. Obviously, I'm a big K-State fan. Terrible K-State fan, but forgot we had an engagement. And so I was not able to watch that game. And now looking back, kind of glad I didn't.
Sometimes those are the best days when you're like, I'm not able to watch my team play today. Especially as a Texas fan, those are usually the days they lose a heartbreaker to a team like Kansas. And you're like, good thing I took the kids to the pumpkin patch today.
Yeah, K-State had a lot of success over Texas throughout the years, so it was nice to get one back. I had a conversation with Alex Okafor earlier last week, and he did not want to talk about K-State Texas because he's not a big fan of K-State.
No.
So we just avoided that subject altogether. But yeah. That's ESPN's Matt Miller, man. Appreciate you for joining us, just like he does every Monday for his Stock Up, Stock Down report. You can catch Matt's work covering the NFL draft and the NFL for ESPN. Matt, what do you got working on? What can you promote that people can find your work?
Yeah, it's a busy week here, BJ. We kind of are mid-season, so we're updating our team needs. Or I shouldn't say updating. We're releasing our team needs. Top need for every team. Myself and Jordan Reed, who does an amazing job. We're doing our top rookies. I had to vote this morning on my top 15 rookies. So mid-season point, we've got some teams already asking me for big boards and mock drafts. So, we'll be getting into that stuff here shortly too.
All right. Not a lot of better people to follow for the NFL draft than Matt. Besides maybe our guy DJ. He's up there, but DJ and Matt would be a couple of the guys to find the best content covering the NFL draft. Always a great time of the year, but for Chiefs fans, they're not thinking about the offseason yet. But the rest of the AFC West might be shortly, although the Chargers pulled out the one against the Falcons. That would have been nice. Is the Chargers still just hanging around? But anyway, appreciate you, Matt, and appreciate everybody for listening to this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform. Appreciate you for spending part of your day with us and supporting what we're doing here at KC Sports Network. You've got the Laboratory going live tonight, Monday night at 8 p.m. We'll have plenty more content getting you ready for the Jags game. Well, breaking down this win over the Titans for a couple more days, and then moving on to the Chiefs game against the Jaguars and the Fighting Doug Petersons next week. So that'll be fun. A lot of storylines in that one, but we'll see y'all later.